So, the point of view gun. So ladies, because we don't need a point of view gun, I'm trying to get this situated right. Can everybody see? Can you see the slides? Y'all don't really need a point of view gun because you get the point of view. Because you are compassionate, caring, loving, empathetic women, especially those of you in this room, you don't need a point of view gun. Because you already care about other people's feelings and what they're going through. Yes?
Yes.
Thank you. So what I'd like you to do is to take a minute and think about what life would be like if you were single. Now, for those of you who are single, you don't have to think about this too hard, but if you can, just think about for a minute, what would it be like to be single? Okay, so we won't take too long on that because, don't want anybody thinking singleness looks pretty good now, depending on your husband. Okay. So, but it's hard to think about that, right? I mean, it's hard if you're married to think about what it's like to be single. And so that's really the point of what I want to share with you tonight, is from a single person's perspective, how it feels to be single. Because I believe you care about the women who are single. I believe this matters to you. All right. So you may be surprised to know that there are more single adults in the United States today than there are married adults. Yes. So in 1976, 37% of the adults in the United States were single. 2015, that changed to over 50% of adults in the U.S. are single. So, according to the Pew Research, millennials, when they reach to be their 40s and 50s, 25% will not be married. 25% of millennials will never marry. My concern is that churches are missing out on this group of people, because if there are 50% of the population in the United States is single, do your churches have 50% of their church membership singles? I think the answer is no. Nobody's answering, but I think the answer would be no. So I believe that we need to be thinking about the future, and that this is a group of people that we need to reach. Now, tonight I can't really address a lot about the men. I can just address about the women. But I do think it's important, and I think you care about this. So, I don't think that churches are being neglectful or bad. I just think they don't know what to do with singles after a certain age. So when I go to church websites and I look for their singles department, I don't see anything. I see women's groups, I see men's Bible studies, I see college and career, but there's nothing there for singles. At least nothing for over 30 or 35. Now sometimes college and career, they do things for singles that are young singles, but this is again a growing group of people that I think we need to pay attention to. So there are possible reasons why there are fewer marriages. This is just my perspective and some research that I've done. I'm showing you the men's perspective, however, I'm going to talk to you about the women. So, women are better educated. There are more women going to college now than there are men, a high percentage more. And believe it or not, in 1976, jobs, we're talking about jobs now, 139 men had jobs compared to 100 women. Okay, 139 men with jobs compared to 100 women. Today, 91 men have jobs compared to 100 women. So if you were a single woman, would you be like wanting to go out with a guy who didn't have a job? Okay, exactly, no. So I think men feel very intimidated. And I think that women are taught from the time, I mean, these days, very early, we are taught that I am woman, hear me roar, I can do anything that a man can do and I can do it better. Yes? This is a message that our culture is teaching our women. So, would a man feel very needed around a woman who can do anything?
No.
And do men need to feel needed?
Yes.
Yes. Exactly. I also think that women are smarter than men. Yes, you heard me say that. I do believe that women are smarter than men, and I think that men pick up on that, and I think they need to be respected. But I think that we as women, we're just so busy doing our thing, we're so busy taking charge, we're so busy doing what we need to be doing, that we sometimes miss that the men need to feel respected. And men who have been hurt, I think their egos are more tender, and sometimes if they've been hurt, they don't want to go back into relationships. I think also, we all want to be where we are admired and liked and respected, right? So we all want to be around those environments. Well, if men don't feel that way around women, but they get that at work, or they get that at sporting events, or they get that playing video games, that's where they're going to get their needs met, and not with women. So I think also, even Christian women, and so single women, you can agree or disagree with me, but I believe that even as Christian women, the men expect sex before marriage. Can I get a witness?
Yes.
Okay. So it's very challenging as a single woman when you want to stay celibate and the man is expecting sex. So you have a choice. You either hold your ground, and he's probably going to go date somebody else, or you give in. So I just want to ask a question. So what if all the women in the United States said, all the single women said, no sex unless we're married? Every woman said that. Do you think there might be a few more marriages going on? I think that there would. But are women ever going to do that? No, because I'm afraid that women have created this problem. We have created this by giving in, and now it makes it very hard for the women who don't want to give in. And also I think the same-sex attraction is another component of why we do not see marriages. So I don't want anybody to get sad about this. This is singles. I've got 3 slides to show you with the different age groups. So you'll see where there's blue, that means that there are more men than women in those areas. The bigger the circle, the higher the statistic is of men to women. And where you see the pink, that is more women to men. So this is ages 30 to 39. Now this is ages 40 to 49. You see a little more pink, yes? And now to go one more, age 50 to 59.
Wow.
From my point of view, I'd like to see a little more blue. There's all pink. So women are taught that the natural way of things is we're supposed to get married, we're supposed to have babies. And I think the world and culture just expects that that's what we're supposed to do. So when that doesn't work out, you know, people are trying to figure out, okay, what's wrong with you? Why are you not going with the program? But for many women, I'm afraid that even though that may be what we want, that may not be what we're able to get. That may not be a part of God's plan. So I don't want to discourage the ladies in the room who are single. This is very important because God's bigger than any statistic.
Right.
God knows your future. He's got a plan. So this is just statistics. But again, the point is, this is a growing group of people that I think we're missing. We're missing paying attention to. So how can we connect with these group of women? So here's a few of the single women's challenges, and again, single women, you can agree or disagree. But here's some of the things that we deal with that I don't think single women have to deal with. One is being in a single environment where you are competing with other women. So, you know, in today's culture, when you go into a singles event, there are other single women there, and we are very tempted to compare ourselves. It's called the comparison trap. So when we walk in, we're measuring ourselves to the other single women in the room. Oh, she's prettier, she's thinner, she's smarter. Oh, that guy I really was interested in, he's over there talking to her, and wow, I don't have a chance. It's very tempting to get into that, and it's very tempting to give up and not even go to those events because of the comparison that we feel, that we're tempted to feel. Also, social media. So we love seeing all the families and we love seeing people happy. But I will tell you sometimes, seeing the the happy family with 6 kids, 3 of those adopted, of course, and the 20 grandkids, and they're all in this happy picture. You know, we love that, we're happy for that, but it does make us feel less than sometimes. Also, dating, it's like this. Yes, it is a roller coaster ride. So, oh, this guy's called me and I think he's really interesting. Oh, he told me we were going to go out this weekend, but he hadn't called. Oh, well, we're going to go out. Oh, this is really exciting. Oh, I met him, but his picture on eHarmony was 10 years younger than what he looks like now. Oh, but he's got a good job, so maybe we'll go out with him. Oh, he didn't call. I mean, it's just this. You talk about drama. Dating is drama these days, ladies. Also, I think, you know, again, there's the pressure, again, to have sex outside of marriage. Again, married ladies don't have to deal with that. Single women, it's a challenge. Also, if we stay single, we lose the ability to have children. And that biological clock, it is making a loud sound when we are watching those days go by. But we do have to give that to God, and I'm a testimony to that, because He is in control and He knows what's best for us. So we don't want to miss that. And then also, it could lead to being a single mom. So we know that we have women who are married and who get divorced because, again, that pressure to get married, sometimes we marry the wrong person. And then we figure that out after we've had a couple of kids, and now we're faced with being a single mom. And that is just extremely challenging to be a single mom. So also, financial challenges. So we all know it costs more for one person to live by themselves than it does for 2 people to live together. You've got 2 incomes, you've got people sharing expenses. So single women, it's financially more challenging for us. We have 1 income. And our futures, you know, again, in the future, we're going to have 1 income, 1 Social Security coming in. It's different. And also, people assume, it's the most amazing thing, you know, people just assume that we have a problem. So I can meet somebody in a work environment or meet somebody in the grocery store or whatever, and you're talking about, oh, what do you do for a living? That's the first question, right? And then next comes, oh, what does your husband do? And then when you say, oh, well, I'm not married, there's silence. And then the person, it's like you just told them that your puppy just died. They feel like they've got to help you. They feel like they've got to fix you. They've got to say something. I mean, surely you're miserable. They've got to say something to you, and then comes just the darndest things that people say to single people. And so that's what we're going to talk about next, is we're going to talk about the 10 things not to say to single people. Okay, so number 10 is, how is it that you're still single? Well, let's see, maybe I'm not capable of love, or I'm having a bad hair day. Okay, number 9. You're just too picky. That's your problem. Anybody heard that? Just too picky? So one of my best friends actually told me that she believed that I had missed my husband. She believed that God had sent me good men, and that because I was so picky, I had missed my husband, and I was destined to be single forever. Great friend, right? Yeah. So I don't need to tell you that we should never say that to a single person, because I'm a witness that she was wrong. God had not sent my husband. I was being obedient, and God proved Himself faithful. So, number 8. Oh, I heard of this. My brother's longtime friend who has a vet who gets his car fixed at this garage, he's got a cousin that's single. So as long as he's breathing and you're breathing, we should set you up, right? It happens. People just think that's what they're supposed to do. And I have to tell you that there's only one thing worse than being single: being married to the wrong person. I heard an amen on that, yes. So, number 7. You will meet somebody when you least expect it. Anybody ever heard that? So, okay, I least expect it. I least expect it. I mean, what does that really mean? So, number 6. Man, I wish I were single. Really? Seriously? I mean, I've had this said to me so many times. I want to say back, really? So you give up your husband and your 3 kids and your 2 grandbabies just so you could be single like me? Wow! Not. Nobody means that. We know that you don't mean that. Your heart is in the right place. You're trying to empathize, but really we know that that's not really true. So number 5. And that's why she's still single. Ever heard that? So at Thanksgiving dinner, so imagine I'm at a big family Thanksgiving dinner, and we're passing food around. And the broccoli casserole comes around to me, and I continue passing it on. Well, my sister's mother-in-law says, well, why didn't you have any of that broccoli casserole? And I explained, well, I don't eat cheese. Well, that explains it. I mean, you don't eat cheese. I mean, what man would marry a woman who doesn't eat cheese? That is a true story, ladies. You must have so much time on your hands, right? We're single. We got nothing to do. So I just want to help you with this one. So we do have a lot to do. We have to manage a home just like you do. We have cars to maintain, we have groceries to get, we have to go to the cleaners. We have all the same things that married people do, only 2 people are doing them, and I'm the only one doing them. So it doesn't mean necessarily that I have more time. I do have more time alone, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I have a lot more time. But certainly at work environments, who is asked to stay late and get the project done because everybody else has to go home to their families? Who is asked to work on Christmas Eve because everybody else has to go home and fix dinner for their families, right? It's us singles. But now I do want to say a word about single moms. So nobody should ever say this to a single mom, because it is just the opposite. Now you've got one person who's trying to take care of children and doing the job of 2 adults trying to take care of a family. So, yeah, that is very challenging. So I just want to say a word to you about the single mom thing. So in your church, if you can seek out the single moms, do you already know who your single moms are in your churches? Okay, I see 1 yes. Okay, 2 yeses, great. So can you imagine if you reached out to that single mom and you said, you know, I'd like to come over on Saturday and spend a couple of hours there with your kids and let you go get your errands done? Do you know what that would mean to them? Do you know what it would mean to them if y'all designated a Saturday where married women came and they had the single moms bring their kids on a Saturday and you keep their kids while they go out and get their stuff done? Would that make them feel special and important and valued, recognized, that they're there? So number 3. So what are you doing to meet people? Are you putting yourself out there? Have you gone on online dating? Wow, you know, that never occurred to me to do that. So number 2. Oh, I know you'll find someone, your time will come. Well, I know Jan spoke earlier about the gift of prophecy. Well, unless you have the gift of prophecy, please don't say this to me. Because unless you know my husband's on the way, this is not really accurate or true. So the last one is I've kind of combined all the Christian ones. So this is what we Christians say, and I'm just going to hit the highlights of the yellow ones for time. So if being married is the desire of your heart, God is going to give it to you. So ladies, we're taking Psalm 37:4, delight yourself in the Lord and he will give you the desires of your heart, a little out of context. Because it doesn't mean that if I am single and I am really wanting to be married and that's all I can think about and that's what I really want and I'm praying and I'm praying and I'm praying, God is not obligated to provide a husband. He's not. He never said he would. So this is kind of planting seed in a woman's heart that is not accurate. And then the second one is, well, just let Jesus be your husband. Anybody heard that? So I just want to say back to that, well, okay, so you've got Jesus and a husband, but somehow I'm supposed to be delighted in that I just have Jesus. So help me understand how that's fair. So then, and that's of course Isaiah 54:5, of course, because your maker is your husband, and that is absolutely true. God is always our husband, be it married in the physical or not. Yes?
Yes.
So the last one though is, when you turn it over to God, he will send your husband.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that is one of the biggest lies I've ever heard. Mm-hmm. I had a woman who taught us as single women, and she taught all over the country. And she would share the story about how she was dating somebody for 3 or 4 years, and they broke up. And the night they broke up, now she's been dating somebody for 3 or 4 years, right? The night she broke up, she goes home and she cries out to the Lord, I can't do this. You'll have to do this. You'll have to find my husband, because I surrender this to you. The next day, she met her husband. So this is how she explains, this is her evidence, that if you turn it over to God, you'll meet your husband. Well, what does that mean? If you haven't met your husband, then you haven't turned it over to God, right? But that is a lie. And I'm, again, a testimony of that. So many wonderful, sweet, precious single women of all ages have given that to God, and they're fine being single. So this is not true. Okay, so that's the 10 things not to say to single people. So now you're thinking, okay, well, we know what not to say, so what do we say? So I just want to share with you, to me, this is kind of from a single person's point of view again. So Psalm 68:6 says, of course, that God sets the lonely in families. And I believe that God does intend for us as a church family to not leave this group of single women out. I believe that we as a church family need to include them in the church family. And so a little bit of the hints of how to do that. So please don't think of us as second best. Please don't think of us as we're no value because we're single. So how could we know about certain things? Because that's just not true. We have value and we bring information to the table. We may not know about having kids or raising kids. Of course, if we're a single mom, we do. But you know, we may not know about a lot of things, but we also have other things that we do know about. I could be the CFO for a company, so I could help somebody with their finances. You know, I could be in the insurance business and help somebody with their insurance. We do have value. Just because we're not married, it doesn't mean that we should not be respected or valued. So reach out and connect with me. You know, engage with us. And I don't mean just say hello and then you find out that they're single and whatever, and then you give them advice or whatever. I'm talking about look them in the eye and ask them questions and get to know them like you would anybody else, right? Because anybody else that you meet, because we all have issues. Can I get an amen? Amen? I mean, married women have issues, single people have issues. I don't know who it is that thinks that because we're single we have more issues than married people. Whoever said that, we need to find them. Yeah, because that's just not, you know, married people have problems too. Can I get an amen from the married people in the room? Thank you. Okay, so also, you know, that's what I'm leading up to is ask more questions than giving advice. Because I gotta tell you, as single women, we get advice. Everybody's trying to fix us. Everybody's trying to tell us what to do. We get so tired of that. We'd rather you get to know us. If you want to give me advice, earn the right to give me advice, get to know me, spend time with me, so that you know what I need. And if the Lord really puts that on your heart, then that's okay. But if you don't know me, please don't do that. Get to know me. So value my opinion. Listening. I cannot tell you what it means to a single person when you listen to what they have to say. And you value that. And it can be a mutual relationship. So I have a friend of mine named Mary. And you know how Mike used to say that there's a purpose and a plan to the pain, right? Well, I dated this guy named Stephen, and he was a pain. But his sister, Mary, was the purpose for that pain. So his sister has been my prayer partner for 30 years. She made an investment in me. Here I was single. She was married to a wonderful, godly man with 2 children. But she decided to invite me to lunch, invited me to her home, and we had prayer time. So I knew some things about the Bible that she didn't, but she knew some things about how to have a godly family, how to model good relationships, a godly husband. I had not had that modeled in my life. I didn't know how to have a godly relationship. I didn't know what that looked like. I didn't know what a godly man looked like. So her kind of taking me into her family, I got to learn that. I got to watch that in action. And it was wonderful. And it helped me to be prepared for what God had for me. But she took a real chance on me. So again, that was a mutual relationship, a win-win. So pray for me and encourage me. That is another really important thing. So I would just ask that you pray about maybe God putting a single woman into your heart, and it may be somebody that's already come to your mind, or somebody that you're going to meet tomorrow. But what you have, what Brenda and Cheryl handed out to you earlier tonight, was a bookmark, and I know you've gotten already bookmarks, so I hope you got lots of books. So this bookmark, of course, on one side is pray for your single sisters, and this is a reminder to please pray for your single sisters. And then on the back are the prayers of Paul. So the prayers of Paul are 2 in Ephesians and 1 in Colossians. And these are great prayers to pray for anybody, not just for singles, especially if there's somebody that you're really mad at, like an ex-husband. These are great prayers to pray when you don't know how to pray for somebody, because Paul prayed them, and they are wonderful prayers for anybody. Because let's just start with the first one. So I ask that you, God of our Lord Jesus Christ, the glorious Father, may give Betty your spirit of wisdom and revelation, so that Betty may know you better. I pray that the eyes of Betty's heart may be enlightened, in order that Betty may know the hope to which you, Lord, have called her, the riches of your glorious inheritance in the saints. So when you don't know how to pray, these are great prayers. So, so I was single. Just want to tell you a little bit of my story. So I was single for 20 years between my first marriage and my current marriage. So God has asked me to kind of leverage those 20 years and circle back and try to encourage women who might be going through similar circumstances. So what got me here was, as Betty was saying, that I was a very busy working woman and had been married for about 10 years. I would love to share with you how I met my husband. It's such a sweet, miraculous story of I thought I'd be single for the rest of my life. I really did. And I had given that to God. I had not dated for 7 years. Not dated at all for 7 years. God told me I wasn't good at it and I should stop doing it. So I did. But I didn't know that my husband was at the other end of that. But I will tell you that my husband is so grateful that I spent those years with God before I married him. He will tell you that he knows that that time spent with God really made a difference in my life and in our marriage. But so about 10 years after Rob and I got married, my sweet precious husband was diagnosed with a terminal illness for which there is no cure. The average life expectancy at the time of diagnosis was 18 months. So I almost want to cry as I tell you this story. So I was working a high-level position, a high-level executive in a company working nationally, and I realized that I didn't know how much time I had with my husband, and God was making it very clear to me that I needed to leave my job so that I could help him. And so that's exactly what I did. So for 18 months, we were on chemotherapy. 18 long months. We made 6 trips to Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. Loved that place. And they saved my husband's life. So that was all, again, 18 months of chemotherapy with no change. But you know the saying that when God shows up, he shows out? Well, he certainly did, because at the 18th month, when actually they were going to have to cut the chemo off, because you can only be on this chemotherapy for 18 months because it will start secondary cancers, they had to cut it off at 18 months, and that's exactly when he rallied. Was at the 18-month mark, the last month he had the chemotherapy, when his numbers started going in the right direction. So he's been in remission for 2 years now, and we are so grateful. God is so good. But then when he went into remission and he kind of recovered from the chemo, so for anybody who's experienced this, you know that the chemo is almost as hard on you as a disease, and so he had to recover from that. But then came the choice, okay, what do I do? Do I go back to work, or do I, what do I do? So actually, several people had asked me to come speak. Cheryl here, this is her first time here, and I so appreciate everybody welcoming Cheryl from Macon, Georgia. But she leads a wonderful group of women called the WOW class in Macon, and they invited me to come speak. And I loved doing the research, I loved doing the homework, I loved doing the presentation, I loved encouraging women, I loved it. So my husband went with me every time, actually, he went with me. And by the third time, when we left to drive back home, he said, if you want to encourage single women, if you want to start a ministry, I think there's a real need for that. And you seem to really enjoy this, so I will keep working and you can start a ministry for single and single again women. So this is how Life in Sweet Abandon was birthed. So that's the name of the ministry to single and single again women. The name of our Bible study is called The Sweet Life. We are a nonprofit organization. We have a board of directors, I have volunteers, and we teach a Bible study on the first and third Tuesday nights of each month. Now, we've only been doing this since May, so we are still really learning. But I will tell you that it's such a sweet, precious group of women. Women who love God, women who want to make a difference, who want to have meaningful lives. And you know, you think that they're all pursuing men, that's all they're focused on. No, let me just help you with that. They're not. In fact, some of them don't even want to date, they don't want to get married again. Some of them would like to be married, but they'd like to skip the dating part. Could I just get married and not do the dating? But they are such wonderful, precious women. And so what we wanted to do, what God laid on my heart, was to create a safe environment for single women to come and talk about real and relevant issues that are specific to singles, but in light of God's truth. So you can go to a Beth Moore study, or you can go to a Joyce Meyer, or you can go, and where are you going to hear about issues that single women deal with? You just don't. You hear about being married, you hear about issues with husbands and how to solve that, but I really felt like God was telling me single women need a place to go and to talk. And so our website is lifeinsweetabandon.com or thesweetlifebiblestudy.com. You can get there either way. I would love if you go and tell me what you think. Love your opinion. And then here is just the front page of the website. Now, for any of you who know me, you know that I'm so technically challenged, it's not even funny, but believe it or not, I built a website. The poor people at Squarespace are still needing some therapy after helping me build this website. But I have so enjoyed God getting me out of my comfort. And let me just, if there's anything that you think God's telling you to do and you are giving him the reasons why you can't do it, let me just tell you, he's gonna get you out of your box, and he's gonna show you that if he's telling you to do something, he's gonna help you to do it. He's going to provide the way. Because if you had told me 2 years ago I was going to develop a website, I would have told you you were absolutely crazy. But I have loved it. I have just loved it. So this text right here, this is kind of our mantra. We believe that God has a purpose for each of our lives, and that sometimes singleness, be it for a season or a lifetime, provides opportunities for God's perfect will in our life. We believe that the challenges facing those who are married are different than those faced by singles. Neither is better or worse, but they are different. And we want to support and encourage our single sisters as we navigate through this life as God intended. We are not trying to fix singles, because we don't believe that singles need to be fixed any more than married people do, any more than anyone else. We will be openly discussing topics that are real and relevant as single women, but singleness is not our focus. Our focus is on learning about God, his love for us. Our focus is abiding life. They have loved Mike's books. I keep having to get more books, and exchange life. So really trying to feed them truth, because when you are single, trusting God is what gets you through every day. You don't have a husband to depend on. You don't have that person who is committed to you, who's responsible. So if life goes awry, if you lose your job, if one of your parents gets sick, whatever, there's nobody, you don't have a husband that's going to help support you, help rally you, help encourage you. So what we have is the best husband ever. And take it from somebody that's been married twice. My second husband is absolutely fabulous, but there's only one husband better than him. God is the very best husband ever. He cannot be beat. But our being able to trust God is the most important thing, and it makes such a difference in a single woman's life. So that is really what we're teaching, is trusting God. That's the foundation of everything. So here's just this is what I sent out on the invites. Single and single again women deserve a safe place to discuss real and relevant issues in light of God's truth. So I would really appreciate your prayers for the ministry. You know, my point of view used to be that I was cursed, that I was being punished because I was single. I spent a lot of time trying to figure out, okay, what's wrong with me? What have I done wrong? But it was a C word, but it wasn't cursed. I was chosen. God wanted to spend time with me. He wanted to grow me, and he wanted to mature me, And he wanted him to be my focus, not on a boyfriend or husband. And I have to tell you, I would choose Jesus every time because I'm so grateful, just so very grateful. So I do believe absolutely that I was chosen. Now again, I was single for 20 years, and I like to say that I walked with God for those 20 years, but actually he drugged me kicking and screaming the first 13. I didn't figure it out until the last 7. But the last 7 were great. And again, did I mention I wasn't dating for the last 7 years?
Yes.
Okay, so that kind of, you see the correlation there. So I want to just speak to single women that God knows exactly where you are. He has wonderful, incredible plans for you, and you may not be able to see that. But he knows exactly what you need. And he loves spending time with you. He loves that. You are the delight of his heart because you are depending only on him. And he knows that, and he loves that. He does not need a point of view gun. He gets your point of view. So, so I just want to take up just maybe 5 more minutes of your time. So I ask you to start praying for your single, somebody that God puts on your heart that's single. And I'd like for us actually to start that tonight. I'd like to pray over our single sisters who are here in this group tonight. So there are 15 chairs in the back, and in a moment, I'm going to ask all the ladies who raised their hand to just go sit in one of those chairs. And I've already asked certain women to pray over the single women. But that's just one person. We need more. So all of you who are married, there's going to be kind of one person leading that's already been designated. But if you will, as all married women, if you will also go back and while that person is praying, if you would quietly pray and lay your hands on those single women. It's very important that you are loved, you are cherished, you are special, you are respected. We really want you to know that. We as married women here tonight really want you to know that. And I'm not going to try not to cry. So, okay. So ladies, if you raised your hand that you were not married, I would like for you to go ahead and get up and go take a seat. Those are very special seats back there. They're for very special people. There's a seat back there for you. So if you'll go take that seat. Thank you, ladies.